Welcome to the first segment of recruiting conversations with the #1 search engine result for talent attraction consultant, recruiter guy, Bill Humbert. This is a weekly series of 5 to 8 minute segments, and they're going to be information packed with all of the information that you're going to need, most of it anyway, to be more successful recruiting. So click on the subscribe button now because you're not going to want to miss even one. Let's begin with a bang. Recruiting mirrors the sales process perfectly. It is not a process that should be done by administrative or compliance people. Now, there's a reason for that. It's a sales process. So if you want to improve recruiting for your company, and based on over 40 years of professional recruiting experience and a couple of years of recruitment managing experience for corporate, this is going to be a series of conversations that you don't want to miss. So here we go. Recruiting mirrors the sales process perfectly, line by line, step by step. If you look at the sales process and you line those up next to each other, the first step is to identify a client need, and that's in sales. And then in the recruiting side, it's create a position, an opening. So you know what the opening is. Now, I always suggest that the manager should have to, from a business perspective, give you a reason why they need the open position. And sometimes it could be simple. Hey, we lost Joe, we lost Amy, and we need to fill their positions. In the sales process, the second step is to create a solution. In the recruiting process, that's called a job description. Now, I have some really bad news for you. Even today, most job descriptions I read, do not describe the job, and therefore you get lots of resumes of people who aren't qualified. And B, this is even more important. What are you measuring the candidate when they become an employee? What are you measuring them on in their performance? The third step is to source potential clients on the sales side. And then on the candidate side is source potential candidates. And boy, do I have a lot of information on that for you that will definitely improve your recruiting. The fourth is a needs analysis in sales. So they usually visit somehow with a potential client. And then what they'll do is after they visit with them, they'll create the analysis, and then they'll go from there, and they'll show how their solution will take care of what the needs are for the client. Well, it's easy to see that transition on the recruiting side. That's the interview. And I have some interview tips that are really, really important if you want to be more successful identifying the right people. It's sometimes what I've seen is people come to me when I'm consulting with them, they say, we hired somebody, and after 3 months, we know they're the wrong person. But you probably should have known that when you interviewed them. So we'll talk about that. In the sales process, the next step is the proposal that you're giving your potential client. In recruiting, it is the offer. Now, I've seen things that have just made me go, yeah, and that did hurt. It's important that the person who's extending the offer understands the sales process, because you're trying to sell the candidate on your position. So then on the sales side, you've got cost negotiation, And on the recruiting side, you have compensation negotiation. And, you know, it doesn't have to be that you're paying the most of all the companies in your area or the most of all the companies in your industry. What's more important is your culture, especially today. So, you know, we'll go into that too. On the sales side, it's close the sale. That's easy to figure out, right? And so you close the sale. On the candidate side, on the recruiting side, it's close the candidate. Ask your recruiters to give you a couple of their closes. And I'll supply a couple as we go through here. Not today, because we're going to run out of time. The next is the delivery of the product. And in the recruiting side, that's a start date. That's the delivery of that product. Then is the product training on the sales side. On the candidate side, that is one of the most important moments when you hire that person. That's the onboarding. That's their first impression of your company. And I've seen companies lose people on their first day just because of how poorly the onboarding went. And their previous company is excited to get them back. The next step is to engage the clients. If you're on the sales side, you want to get them engaged in the product and get excited about the product so that they will continue to use your product. And on the recruiting side, that's called employee engagement. And employee engagement is very important if you decide you want to keep that candidate. Then finally, every salesperson wants to retain their clients. And if they retain their clients, that's the easy sale next time. For you, do you really want to retain your candidates, your employees? Of course you do. So that's my time for today. And I look forward to talking to you in the future. And we'll go on and we'll have fun. And there are going to be some times where you're going to see a little bit more humor from me because it just makes more sense. Have a great day. Click on to survive. There's some of that going on too. Click on subscribe. That's even better. Thanks.